Come on, 2, 3.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, December 16th, 2021. And our top story today, holiday travel expected to surge and tips for traveling safely. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Andrew Gross is with AAA. Andrew, great to see you. Happy holidays. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Always a pleasure to be here with you, Jeffrey.
Yeah, and I love the ornaments and the festive nature in the background behind you. It looks like a lot of Americans picking up on what we discussed for Thanksgiving. A lot of Americans could be on the road again for this holiday season.
That's right. We had a very robust travel season at Thanksgiving, and basically you can nearly double it now for the Christmas and the New Year's holiday travel period. We're looking at about 109 million people are going to travel domestically this year. Yeah, about 100 million of them will go by car, and about 6.4 million folks will fly.
Yeah, and what are the busiest days? So if I'm planning a trip, I guess theoretically I probably should have planned my trip already. But let's just say I'm a late. I shoot from the hip a lot. Look, let's face it. But like, what are the busiest days that you can expect to see travel and therefore need to have some contingencies in place?
The 22nd and the 23rd will be the two busiest pre-Christmas travel days. And then the 27th will be the sort of the busy post-Christmas and then that sort of New Year's travel period. And then obviously like the 2nd and the 3rd, right after New Year's, is when a lot of folks may be coming home.
Yeah, and so when it comes to planning that travel, what are some things we need to think about? I mean, look, I want to see grandma. Well, I can't see my grandmother. I want to see my parents and relatives, and I think a lot of people are in that position. But there's probably some things you need to keep in mind about traveling to a different state, traveling by a plane versus traveling on the road. What are some of them?
Well, remember, if you're traveling by plane, you have to wear a mask when you're in the airport and when you're on the plane. Those are the rules. Just go with it. Expect you're going to have a lot of crowds at the airport, so get there early. The same rules that apply to Thanksgiving really apply now. 2 hours minimum if you're flying domestically, and if you're fortunate enough to go overseas, 3 hours. And expect there to be some long lines at like ticket counters and at TSA. It's just expected with these kinds of travel volumes.
And you mentioned going overseas. Let's talk a little bit about that. Things you need to be aware of. There's the Omicron variant, Delta variant still prevalent as well. What do you need to think about if you're coming back across the border, either driving or flying?
Well, if you're coming back to the States from overseas, one thing you have to get now is you have to have a negative COVID test within 24 hours of your departure, or you're not going to be able to come back. And if you, heaven forbid, you're negative, then that's a whole nother sticky wicket, so to speak, because then you cannot come back. You have to quarantine in whatever country you're in, and then it depends how many days before you could be, shown to have another negative test or a negative test. So it could be pretty dicey if you should test positive overseas. You won't be able to come back. You have to quarantine over there, and that could add a lot of expense because say you're stuck quarantining in a hotel in Italy, that could be a lot more expensive.
Yeah, a lot more expensive, but man, that sounds really nice. I'd like to quarantine for 2 weeks somewhere. Italy sounds wonderful. Spain as well. Andrew, let's talk about hitting the road. Where are we with national gas prices? We saw that big run up after Thanksgiving, or maybe before Thanksgiving. Gas prices going up significantly. Where do things stand today?
Gas prices have really been dropping pretty sharply since about Thanksgiving. They're down 10 cents a gallon nationally right now. And I looked just before this interview, and they were down again. They're down to about $3.31. And that's been a pretty steady drop almost every day since Thanksgiving. And a lot of that has to do with the price of oil. The price of oil is now down below $70 a barrel. It's back in the 60s. A lot of that upward pressure that folks were facing at the gas pump, that's gone now. So for now, folks will be dealing with cheaper gas when they go to fill up.
That's good, and hopefully that lowers the cost of travel, lowers the cost of delivery of certain goods if you're expecting things from FedEx, DHL, USPS, UPS, all the brands out there. If I forgot you, my apologies. Andrew, I need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss tips for staying safe during the holidays. More with Andrew Gross and AAA. When we come back, you're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM.
But if you're tired of the same.
Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking this morning to Andrew Gross of AAA. Andrew, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
My pleasure.
And his background all decked out in festive attire. It looks wonderful, Andrew. All right, let's talk about keeping safe. There's a lot of things. And last time, I think you and I caught up on where to keep your hands on the wheel. So let's start with that. It's no longer 10 and 2. It's what, 9 and 3?
Yeah, 9 and 3. That's the new location for cars. And I even asked that. I said, why did it move from 10 and 2 to 9 and 3? And basically, the 10 and 2 came from the days before power steering, and you had those sort of bigger, thinner steering wheels. So you're up high. A much more natural position now is 9 and 3.
Yeah, and I remember those days without power steering. I remember my grandmother doing one of these, driving. Yep. Andrew, let's talk about staying safe. And I hate to do PSAs, but I think we need to just remind people, no texting while driving, making sure that you're staying focused. I mean, this is the time of year when you can have accidents getting to the airport if you're going to take a plane, if you're going to grandmother's house over the river and through the woods. Want to make sure that you're not doing those things to make sure you're totally focused, because you can lose focus for a second and have a big issue.
That's certainly true. And that's one reason we tell folks, plan ahead. Don't wait to the last minute to get on the road, because then you are rushing and then you're likely to be distracted. But another thing is, before you head on the road, sit in the driveway or wherever you are parked on the side of the road and adjust your infotainment system and your navigation system before you start driving. Because you don't want to be cruising down the highway at 65 miles an hour and be taking your eyes off the road to start fiddling with the system. That is not safe.
No, that is definitely not safe. I thought you were going to say you need to practice some Zen meditation, because lots of traffic in our first segment, lots of traffic, kind of lower the stress level, right? That's going to be important because you don't want to have a heart issue or a health issue on the road. Let's just talk about something that I think we just need to mention. If you're going to a Christmas party or a holiday party, maybe that's what they're called today, or you're drinking a little eggnog at grandma's house, want to make sure you're not driving impaired. Want to have the hands on 9 and 3, not texting, and being of clear mind.
Well, exactly. And if you know you're going to a holiday party where alcohol will be served, or you may be enjoying yourself, you might not choose to drive. And, there's now ride sharing apps and things like that. So that lets someone else do the driving for you so you can enjoy yourself. Because this time of year is definitely when we see a lot of impairment, whether it's alcohol or another thing to also think about is if you're on prescribed medications. And a lot of those, you read the fine print and it may say, don't take this and drive. But sometimes you may feel like, well, I have to drive because I got to get from point A to point B. Bear in mind that prescription drugs can be impairing. So that's something else to keep in mind.
Andrew, this is, I kind of put this in the vein of safety, but it's online safety. It's privacy, identity theft. We've got to be really mindful. It's not just driving the car, but when you're going to get gasoline, you're stopped at the convenience store to pick up the map. People probably use their phones for maps, but they go to get a Slim Jim or a water bottle. Be aware of where your credit card is. Don't leave it out. Make sure that be mindful of your privacy and safety.
That's definitely a great warning for everybody, because this is the time of year you might get those weird phishing emails, or you go to get gas and you're putting your credit card in and you notice that credit card slot, the whole thing seems a little loose and a little weird. That's because there could be a theft device inside that someone has put in that, particularly if it's at a gas pump that's furthest away. It's toward the end of the row, or it's a little out of sight of the people working inside the station. So keep that in mind. If it doesn't feel right, trust your gut. It probably isn't right. Don't put your credit card in there. Pull around and either go to a different station or pull up to a pump that's right in the eye line of the person working at the station.
Yeah, really important tips. And we often lose sight of the privacy or data aspect of things, and that becomes even more prevalent with what has happened this past year. Andrew Gross, always great to see you. Thanks so much for stopping by. Enjoy your holidays, and we look forward to having you back on the program again after the new year.
Happy holidays to you, Jeffrey, and to all your viewers.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in finance, wellness, tech, lifestyle, so much more, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives or see our latest content? Visit our streaming partners, Roku, Samsung, and over 100 more. We're back again tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Waiting here for you to take and drink of. But if you're tired, come on.
Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.